we've been brought up to venerate all things intellectual, all the way back to the French philosopher René Descartes back in 1637, who said, "I think, therefore I am." We've been brought up to, I would have to say that the divine feminine would be more likely to say, "I experience, therefore I am." And when you think about just those two expressions, think, therefore I am, experience, therefore I am, you almost feel the difference, like thinking is a small part of how we experience ourselves. And this is where the divine feminine and the sovereign goddess aspect come into play, because we're experiencing not just our minds, we're experiencing our bodies, our feelings, the things that are outside of us, like the birds that you might hear on this recording because it's early morning here. Or it might be the sound of a car going past. It might be the sense of who I am being right now, and the sense of who you are being right now as you're experiencing this little video clip. And it's so much more than just what we're thinking. And the interesting thing is, the more you start to experience yourself more fully, and we'll do a little exercise to play with this a little bit more fully later on, is that you start to see that the intellect is not all of who you are, that your thoughts, especially those ones that don't serve us, around "I'm not good enough, I'm too fat, I'm too thin, my breasts aren't big enough, I'm not beautiful enough, I'm not sexy enough because that person doesn't want me, I'm not a loving being because I'm not having sex, I'm not actually worthwhile," all of those thoughts that can go over and over in our minds and actually delete our power when we think them. That part of us eventually starts to become smaller. It's never going to become less powerful. Our minds are so incredibly powerful, but we can actually start to be the director of those minds more so than that monkey mind being the director of us. And the way that we do this is becoming more embodied. And what is being embodied? Well, it's just simply experiencing ourselves at a body level. So just take a moment to notice now, what are you experiencing in your body? So are you experiencing your body sitting on the chair or lying on the bed or wherever you happen to be listening to this video? And what is the sense of your clothes on your skin? What is the sense of the weight of your body on the surface of where it is? What's the feel of your arms by your sides? And what are you experiencing inside of you as you listen to my words? Maybe you can't really notice anything much inside of you. So the way can make that connection is to take a breath. Exhale out of your mouth. And just do that 2 or 3 times. And keep your attention on your body. And just, it's like you drop your attention into your body. It's like you arrive inside of yourself. And depending on how far away from your body you've been, it will take more breaths than a couple. Or if you haven't been that far away, it might just take half a breath and you're back with that awareness. And it's really just playing with building this bridge of connection between your intellectual mind and your body, and the part of your mind that is related to your feeling self, that's related to your intuitive aspects and to your soul self. It's not more than your intellect, it's equally as powerful, it's just a different part. And the more that we can experience ourselves in this part, we build a bridge between our intellect and our intuitive soul self, between our ego and our soul self. It makes us more resilient. It literally builds the connection between the right and left hemispheres of our brain through a pathway called the corpus callosum. So why aren't we more embodied? Why don't we spend more time here if it's such a great place? Well, mostly because we haven't been taught to. We've been taught, as I said, to venerate the mind, and to, as soon as we get to school, it's all about learning through the intellect. It's not about, we go out and have a bit of fun at playtime. Then we come back and do the important work of learning to think. If only we knew what we were giving up. And we also aren't embodied because when we do notice our bodies, often we notice them because something painful is going on, something uncomfortable. And it's, in some ways, it's our body's way of getting our attention. It wants us to listen to it. And if we're not listening to it in any other way, it will create pain in order to get our attention. And so when we do feel our bodies, notice our bodies, it's often uncomfortable. So our intellect says, why would we want to be there? Doesn't make any sense. But the truth is, the more we connect with this part, and we don't have to wallow in the pain, it's not about that. That's the last thing that we need to do. But it's about learning the skill of being present in your body, noticing what's there, not making any of the uncomfortable feelings wrong, but also choosing to go there more often and experience more good things, more feelings of pleasure, more feelings of connection. That connection that we're longing for and we look for everywhere else. We look for it in our partners, we look for it in our children, we look for it in our that piece of chocolate cake that we really want to eat on when we just think we shouldn't. We look for it in our jobs, our careers, our bank balances. We look for it in our seeking of perfection in our bodies. We look for it in all sorts of places. And yes, it exists in those places at some level. But the core part of us that we're really looking for is us and that connection with us. And the more we seek it, the more we can actually experience it more and more easily, more and more fully. And it becomes a wonderful, magical, mystical garden that can be at many different levels. That can be just as simple as feeling physical pleasure, feeling good in ourselves. That's not a judgment, a thought, but a physical experience. We might be feeling uplifted. We might be feeling inspired. We might be feeling energized. We might be feeling happy. All of these feelings we can experience if we check in with our bodies more often. So what are you feeling right now? Bringing your attention to your body. At first, you might notice your physical body sitting on the chair. You might notice how your physical body is feeling on the inside. You might be feeling relaxed or tense, or might have some achy bits. And if you stay with your body, go a little bit deeper, you might notice some more subtle emotion type feelings in your belly or your chest or sometimes your throat. And just notice what's there. It may be a bit of anxiety, it may be a bit of happiness, it may be a bit of inspiration, it may be a bit of curiosity, it may be a bit of, which is kind of some of the mind, but also it's an openness in the body. You may be feeling open, you may be feeling light, you may be feeling heavy. But whatever it is you're feeling, you're making that connection. You're making that awareness combine with your experience. So you're bringing your left and right sides of your brain together. And one of the other reasons that we are not so embodied is that, apart from our culture and the fact that it can be uncomfortable, is that there may have been times in our past where We just didn't want to be there, where it was too uncomfortable or overwhelming for us, mostly as children, to actually stay with ourselves. Because children are really embodied. If you actually look closely at them, they're really in the moment, and they're in whatever's happening, whether it's joyous or whether it's, frustration or whatever it is, they're fully there. And they're breathing fully. They're not using their mind to close down their breath and close down their experience of themselves. And so when we have these experiences that are too much for us to deal with as children, what our mind does as a safety mechanism is that it disconnects. And you might be thinking of, situations that are of big trauma, like abuse or some kind of really traumatic thing, obviously traumatic experience, like the loss of a parent or a car accident, all of those bigger experiences. But it can also be much more simple ones, such as being rejected by a friend or laughed at when we get asked to stand up and speak in class. It can be a multitude of little events that leave us disconnected from ourselves because it's too much to feel. And what that does is it starts to create more and more of ourselves that are not present. And so in starting to choose to become present, we start to heal that disconnection. We start to get more and more present, feel more and more parts of ourselves. And as we go through this next little while, we'll be learning how to be present with whatever's there, and how to create more and more experiences that feel more and more pleasurable, that make it more and more desirable to actually be in our bodies. So in finishing today, I'd like to invite you to place your right hand just around the side of your rib cage, over near your heart, and your other arm and hand over the top of that left arm, right arm. And just breathe and just feel yourself. Just be here. It's a beautiful place to be. There's more of us available here, more layers of our magic and our power and our joy and our fun and our pleasure, whatever it is that we're open to or seeking. So from my place of connection to yours, thank you for joining me today and spending this few minutes. And I hope you got something out of it, and I look forward to seeing you next time.